Wagwan, Wagwan, how we doing? Y'all see the title? We're gonna get straight into this. Straight into this. So here we got the KSR podcast. They don't give bad takes, but the thing about them is they don't give any solutions in their takes. They just make observations, and anybody can make observations. Any Joe Schmo on the street can make observations. Yes, they do know a little bit about basketball and about SEC and college basketball. Yes, but do they know about truly hooping? Now, when I say truly hooping, I'm not saying you necessarily have to play ball at a certain level. I'm saying, do you know what it takes to truly score, finish at the rim, to get defensive stops, to run a set that would work in a specific time? Do you understand how to use offensive tactics, when to use zone, when to go man to man? That I'm not entirely sure if they have that aspect. And I feel like that's where I come in because I am a basketball referee, so I do understand the legalities of the game, and I also have played basketball with good people at that, and I know what it takes to win. So, using my perspective, I'm going to analyze what exactly is wrong with Kentucky. So, first things first, the slow starts. So, slow starts are good. Honestly, slow starts are never good, but they're they're tolerable as long as you're coming back and winning, obviously, right? So Kentucky, they start most of their games down. I would say about 76% of their games they start already down. It happened with Georgia, it happened with Florida, and those were their most recent two games. So the problem is laziness. I'm gonna just say that. And when I say laziness, yes, they're in the gym every single day as a team. Yes, they're good athletes. Yes, they're in shape. They are in shape, but there has to speak to a truly wanting it factor. Are there kids on the team that want it? Yes. Are there kids on the team that don't want it bad enough? Yes. So, and I say that to say this: the reason we lost in Florida was the rebound battle. They're the best rebounding team. That is part of your strategy to, as Kentucky, to fight back against the main thing that the other team has. You get what I'm saying? So as much as I love Mark Pope, I really do. I'm going to have to shift the microscope on him. What was your plan going into play Florida on the defensive and offensive rebounds? You could put Malachi Moreno on Chinaloo. You could put Garrison on Chinaloo, but Garrison to me looked like he trying to run the offense. He looked like he trying to dish the nice passes as opposed to boxing out and getting rebounds, making the hard money plays like Mo Diabate does. Mo can't do all the dirty work himself. As good as he is at it, he's got to get his other teammates involved in the physicality, whether it be him or any other leadership on the team, including Denzel Aberdeen, Otega Owe. So, yeah, we're on a 2-game losing streak right now after having the biggest win streak in the conference so far. I don't believe we're number 2 in the conference anymore after the loss to Georgia. And the loss to Georgia, man, that was hard to watch. I'm not gonna lie to you. It seems like they fall asleep every so often, certain periods of the game. And yes, you have to have same players on the floor in order to develop rhythm and get a momentum going and whatnot. But if we're being completely honest, if I'm a coach, the second I see a player getting lackadaisical, I don't care if you're the highest scorer, I don't care if you're the best at whatever stat. If you're lackadaisical and something happened that could have been avoided, you gotta get benched. And every play, and that's the thing about college basketball as well. Like there's a lot of stars, and when I say stars, I'm not just talking about skill. These guys are getting paid millions of dollars. So if you're getting paid millions of dollars, sometimes you could even be making more than your coach. You really could even be making more than your coach in some of these situations. So it's like, you have to establish a hierarchy, patriarchy, whatever you want to call it, between the coach and the players. Like you can't there has to be, yes, there are leaders on the floor, but there has to be a spearhead through the coach. And I'm just not seeing like a dominant force guiding the Kentucky team as it should be in Mark Pope. Yes, he's a good coach. He did well with BYU, and he is a Kentucky graduate, and he loves the school. But I can only take you so far in terms of what is his relationship with the players is great. They get along well. He mentors them well in terms of having them speak clearly and concisely in press conferences. He cares about what's going on off the court with them, and that's great, and that's a good component and a main component, I would even say, to being a great coach. But you still need the other ingredients of the technical things. So the technical things that Mark Pope is good at is he's good with timeouts. He's good with end of the game scenarios where you have the foul, drawing up a play, get something quick in order to cut down on margins. But Mark Pope needs to get these guys to rebound. He needs to get these guys to box out every single play. Every play on the offensive and defensive end. Whoever's not boxing out, they got to get the boot low key. Not the boot, but they got to some repercussions has to happen to correct the bad habits. Like same thing with training. If you're training wrong and you're lifting weights wrong, you're going to develop abnormally in your physique. So has Kentucky developed abnormally? Absolutely, but that's mainly due to injuries. So, yeah, let's see what these guys got to say. See if I agree or disagree.
Welcome into the Source State Podcast, your go-to Kentucky basketball podcast on the KSR Podcast Network, presented by our delicious friends here. Parlor Pete.
Pause.
Would it be better if last night had a different outcome, but this is the most Sources Say thing ever, right? Like we have a remote right on top of a 2-game losing streak and a disappointing home loss.
Zach, we were
obviously
very excited. Zach Gagan, KSR's finest. We were so excited for this. Like just the build up of, man, excited to get out. We're so excited about the partnership with Parlor Pizza, and always are, always will be. We were like, man, such an awesome opportunity where it's like feel good-ish vibes coming out of the Florida loss, assuming that Kentucky was going to take care of business on Tuesday night. They unfortunately do not. We'll get into the how and why and what it all means. But before then, how the heck are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. I think you planned this perfectly until Kentucky decided to not plan it perfectly for you. So we can blame them for that. But still, we're all happy to be here. The food smells great. It's wafting towards me as we continue to talk.
Don't care about your food, so skipping forward. Are you going to offer anything insightful?
Friends are out there to end the game. They come up with empty possessions. They'll take the way that it happened.
Seed line at this point.
At this point, yes. And it's one of those things, right?
Otega Owe does some big things, and you feel, all right, well, the comeback hats, they're just going to do it again. And then they come up short, and then the reality of, wow, we just took a pretty bad loss. That sucks. How are we feeling waking up this morning knowing that, all right, that's a quad 2, one of the worst losses on the schedule for Kentucky, and definitely probably drop you a seed line at this point?
At this point, yes. And it's one of those things, right?
I would say the Florida loss was a worse loss than the Georgia loss because we could have beat both of those teams. We're better than Florida, and we're obviously better than Georgia. And that speaks to the lackadaisical issue of people just not wanting it bad enough. And it has to come down to the coach really riding them hard. And when I say riding them hard, I mean pushing them in game, not just in practice. I mean specific scenarios, specific guidance, pushing them in game, box out, make sure second the ball goes in the air, your back is on a body of somebody on the opposite team.
You just can't cancel out success. And that's kind of what they did, right? Like you get the big win against Tennessee a little over a week ago, then you come back and you cancel it out, basically. So that's the frustrating part about this team is you just really never know what you're going to get. You think that they've finally turned that corner.
And he's not wrong about that because you really do never know what you're going to get because on top of all these injuries, these guys are what we call in the fight game streaky. You can't depend on them at all, really. And, like, when you do depend on them, it's like, it's not going to be consistent. So just how Garrison had a great game 3 games ago, my prediction was right, is that he went right back to his normal stat line after that one game. Sometimes you just have a good matchup in terms of playing style. Sometimes a player's playing style could flourish against another team due to their weaknesses, not necessarily because of the player's strengths, if that makes sense. Although Garrison's not a bad player, he causes a lot of turnovers, and when the ball's in his hand, it's harder to make decisions because, like, one, they know he's a big and he's not a true scorer. Like, I've seen him take wide open threes and completely miss, and I've seen the other team let him take those wide open threes. So it's like we don't know what we're gonna get at all. And that's once again back to I was speaking very highly of Mark Pope at the beginning of the season, and I was riding with him even through those first batches of losses. But it has to be answered for what are you doing in order to make these changes? And like every time he's asked that in the press conferences, these very vague answers, unclear answers. And I get you don't want the other teams to hear your strategy, but at the same time, you still have to come and provide us an answer because if you would like the support of the Big Blue Nation, of course.
You're okay with the Florida loss, the way that it happened. You competed. If you come back and get this one, now you've dropped this one. Now going on the road this weekend, it's a must-win matchup, right? You can't lose 3 in a row coming off the success and the run that you had, but they weren't able to make shots down the stretch. They had a scoring drought there to end the game. They come up with empty possessions. Otega Oweh dribbles the ball out of bounds off his body. So just empty possessions late, but a little bit of unfamiliar territory because this time they actually built a lead and gave it up. And there was no 14-point, 15-point comeback. So this team, just when you think that they can't do something they haven't done, they go do something they haven't done.
That's the irony of it, is because you got the early lead and you're like, hey, no slow start, Zach. Like, this is great. And then it's like, oh, just wait. We still got a 12-point deficit to overcome. It's going to come. You just need to be patient for it. Just the good of the game, obviously, Otega Oweh ties his career high at Kentucky. Yeah. Unbelievable performance. Like when he got into takeover mode, when he got downhill, he was hitting tough turnaround jumpers, hitting his patented corner 3 at this point. Like he was playing like the SEC Player of the Year. And then down the stretch, the play, the couple of tough turnovers, the one where he punted it out of bounds. Tough.
And Oweh does that often. As a point guard, you're really not supposed to turn the ball over at all. Obviously, nobody's supposed to turn the ball over at all. But if you are a guard, your first job is to take care of the basketball and carry out the coach's will. But at the end, what is the coach's will? What is Mark Pope's true plan? Obviously, the plan has to be different for each team, but it literally seems like he's just going out there and having them play AAU ball a little bit, and he'll run a set here and there pretty much. Like you could see he's moved away from the zoom action, and he seems to be running like 1 up top, 4 on the baseline, and basically having them play AAU ball and just letting them hoop, and whoever gets the hot hand basically feed them or have the focus go on them. They kick it out to like Colin Chandler or Denzel, or shoot it from the 3. So it's like as other college coaches see that, they know Mark Pope isn't a bad coach, but that is a very counterable offense you're running. And you're not a bad defensive team either, but their stats are slowly starting to dwindle down on the defensive end too. It's not as good as they were.
Tough situation.
Also, I don't even believe they're the best or the second best transition team right now, which they were. I think they lost pretty much all their stripes and accolades they've worked so hard to acquire this season, even through all of the injuries.
When you get down 12 and put yourself in position to pull it off. Colin Chandler, kind of the same vibe where he hits, just goes nuclear in a way that we haven't seen. Kobe Bray is the only real comp for that. But he has some defensive slip-ups. He doesn't play a totally perfect game. And then everybody else is not enough help anywhere else.
Takeover mode?
Takeatron takeover?
Takeover mode?
Takeover, I like that better.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
2 threes and 2 and 1s in the first 4 minutes of the second half. He was looking exactly like the aggressive, scoring playmaker that Kentucky needed. He was off to a great start there. And then him and Colin Chandler both, like, the fatigue thing kind of was a big talking point after the game. And I'm sure.
Of course they're going to be fatigued. They have barely anybody in their rotation. I don't understand why Mark Pope didn't decide to burn a couple of red shirts. You clearly need either more people in the rotation or new players in the rotation, because the players you're using now just aren't cutting it. Like the players that aren't cutting it right now, if I'm being honest, Brandon Garrison, he's not boxing out. He's not really as much of a defensive presence as he's supposed to be. It's his second year on Kentucky. Number 4, Yelovich. He started in Florida, and he's not I'm not gonna sit here and say he's bad, but he's a bit too soft for my taste. He gets bullied a bit on the rebounds. He's not a defensive presence. They seem to be comfortable playing against him when they have the ball. He gets moved around a lot. He's like a stretch guard, really, but sometimes they play him like a big. And like he can shoot, but he's one of those people. He's not a. You can't depend on him to really be a shooter, and that's kind of his thing. You're supposed to be a shooter, but you can't depend on it because he's missing most of his shots. Sad to say, Colin has a way higher percentage, and he's clearly the best shooter on the team. Colin is, and I'm not saying Yelovich has to be the best shooter on the team. I'm just saying if you're not making your threes, and that's like your main thing, you're the tall guy that makes threes, and you're not getting your rebound. What exactly are you doing, and how are you getting so much playing time? It's like I know JQ is out, and that would be your typical big. So if Yelovich is starting and he starts to malfunction, right? Who does Mark Pope replace Yelovich with? Garrison's normally on the floor around the same time. Moreno is more of an interchangeable position with Garrison. What other bigs they have? That's three right there. They started off with a lot of bigs. I know I'm probably missing one, but yeah, if I am, he's clearly not relevant enough because he's just not coming to mind. So it's like we need to burn some red shirt. Like who we got on the benches, like who, like everybody wants to play for Kentucky or wanted to play for Kentucky. I'm sure there's something you could have pulled from your back pocket, and this teaches you as a coach, like you have to prepare for injuries of everyone. And like I feel like a $22 million roster should have been able to withstand any amount of injuries, unless all of your players are out and you don't have even a starting five. That's the only time injuries should really affect you if you think about it.
Struggling to try and still articulate how I feel about that. Like I've been trying to tell Steven and Brandon Ramsey about it in our group chat, but I don't think it was a coincidence that Ortega didn't score in the final 4 minutes and kicked the ball off his foot in the end. And I don't think it's a coincidence that Colin Chandler missed his final 3 threes after going 6 for 7. I just think those two guys had a lot on their plate throughout that entire game. And towards the end there,
that's an excellent point there too. The fatigue is definitely a factor because he's saying it's not an accident. They did a lot of work throughout the entire game. Like what else did you need from them? Like this is when you had to put the ball in other people's hands, really, and that's another coaching decision.
They just didn't have enough left in the tank, and boy, it really would have been nice if you got any offensive production from the front court at all. Other than Mo Diabate grabbing all those rebounds, which was awesome and needed, and really still gave Kentucky.
I think Mo Diabate needs to get more playing time because if Yelovich, and that's who I was missing earlier, if Yelovich is not literally like if he's not contributing to the stat line or the defensive upside or offensive rebounds or even boxing out, I haven't even seen him box out really. Like, and he's not sinking his threes or really hitting any shots. Like, if I was to pull up Yelovich's stat line right now, like for the past couple of games, it'd be like, what exactly was your job in those games? Like, you would have to ask that. And sometimes I wish they interviewed the players that like aren't necessarily the star players of the game. Like normally they'll send the best players back to the press conferences, but I like to see like a player that had a bad games interview or like, you know what I'm saying? I want to see where his head's at, what he was thinking, his thought process, what exactly was going on.
A chance there, like I think it was 13 combined points from your 4 front court players. That's tough to win against a team like Georgia where Santos Cerrillo is just kind of a load to deal with down there.
Which I think that was the most disappointing part, Sean, is Malachi had been so awesome against Tennessee, against Arkansas, against Florida even. Like he had kind of shaken off a lot of the Malachi Moreno is soft reputation that he had coming in. And then this was his, the next test where Santo is, a 6'11", 260-pound just freak. Just an athletic, physical freak. And Santo, to his credit, just wanted it more. He was more physical. He fought on the glass. He had the putback opportunities. And, there's one time he's on the ground and somehow manages to swallow up an offensive rebound. When push came to shove, he was the tougher, more physical player. And he was one of the keys to a very disappointing Kentucky loss, but more so a big-time Georgia win.
Yeah, the front court was an empty spot for Kentucky. And Malachi, like you said, had played so well in some of the big games for Kentucky over the course of the season. But, still a freshman, still going to have those moments where you're not going to play as well. But if you had told me going in that Kentucky at Rupp Arena was going to make 12 threes, right, I would have said, I have a great feeling that Kentucky's going to win that game. But Georgia goes and makes 14. Kentucky actually wins the glass, right? Yeah. So, I mean, when you look at, numbers and stats like that, you're like, okay, Kentucky probably won this game. But they just didn't have the resistance that was needed on the front court.
And that resistance comes from fatigue.
You mentioned the minutes played. When you look at Colin Chandler, Otega Oweh, Denzel Aberdeen, a lot of those getting north of 32, 33, 34 minutes. So is fatigue actually a factor at this point? They've been in some tight games over the course.
And Cam, number 3, I believe Cam Williams is his full name, before he got injured, he was speaking to when Mark Pope, at the beginning of the season in their first losing streak, Mark Pope said he just doesn't understand why we're moving slow as molasses. That's verbatim what he said. After that interview, they interviewed Cam Williams, the shooter number 3 that injured his ankle. And he said he believes it could be fatigue. That's what he said.
Course of the last few weeks. So disappointed that Kentucky lost it, even more disappointed that they lost it in that building, because I was hopeful that we had gotten to a point to where we were beyond that, right? Mm-hmm. Like that was the one that I had confidence in Kentucky getting, because you lose at Florida and you're in your mind, you're thinking, okay, you got 2 coming up this week that you can get, and you're still in a really good spot. Now you're searching again going on the road this week, which is, I thought, a territory that Kentucky wouldn't swim in again, but here we are.
It brings out the loudest of the – see, I knew they were frauds all along, Zach. Like, those people always come out of the woodwork in those types of times. And it stinks because in terms of how things unfolded, the three-point defense was just a massive talking point going in, where that was an opportunity to win potentially with them being struggling as much as they do from the perimeter, giving up a ton of threes. They're going to take a bunch, but they don't necessarily make a ton. They play in with pace and tempo. It's a chance to potentially even spread a lead and kind of force them to roll over and die if you can build some momentum and kind of knock them out early, kill their confidence early. Unfortunately, you just can't give up as much space as you did. You can't. The perimeter defense, so much miscommunication and a lack of discipline, and kind of allowing the same thing that we said about Xavier Lee and the Florida perimeter. Same exact thing unfolded, where you just gave them unnecessary confidence and allowed Blue Kane to play totally out of character. Allowed all these guys, just Smurf, your boy Smurf, playing. He was their best shooter, but allowing him to get unbelievably confident. It was a crappy turn of events in the perimeter.
Yeah, the 3-point, when I was watching the game back this morning, I was trying to okay, was there any particular way that Georgia was scoring all these threes? And it was everything. Like, it wasn't just one particular defensive breakdown. Like, Kentucky was struggling with on-ball screens. They were struggling to get around screens off ball. Like, they were a foot too far away from a shooter or something like that. Like, everything that could have gone wrong with the 3-point defense went wrong. Their top 4 3-point shooters are Millender, Kane, Wilkinson, Catchings. I have it right here, Jack. 12 for 13. Those 4 guys were from 3. Those are their top 4 statistical 3-point shooters, and you let them shoot over 50% from 3. So that's tough to overcome from any team, no matter who you're playing.
Yeah, 298 overall going into the game nationally, 3-point percentage, and they end up going, 14 of 31, 45.2% from 3. It's just like
third most threes of the season for them.
It's part of it is the game plan. Part of it is the scout, as you know, Sean. Like, you want bad shooters to take a bunch of them, but you can't give them unnecessary confidence and let the rest of the stuff play out the way, they are so good from 2. They are so good in other areas. You can't let them continue to do what they do well in those other areas and let them add a, third highest of the season from deep.
Well, and I think giving up the lead and then them having a lead at halftime is such a confidence boost for Georgia, right? When you go into the locker room and you've got 20 minutes left to play and you're like, all right, we're right here. We need this win for NCAA tournament purposes. So, you're playing a desperate.
And that's another thing that comes down to them just wanting it more. A lot of basketball comes down to who wants it more, especially in those 50-50 balls, carving out the rebounds, carving out the box out, and defense.
For team at this point in the season, every team that takes the floor, if they're not in that 1, 2, 3 seed category, you're talking desperation, because you're trying to improve your chances. You're trying to prove where you are. and Kentucky just didn't match it last night. But when you look at the stats and things, and you're talking about turnovers, sure, there's only a difference of 6, but when you look at points off those turnovers, there's a difference of 13 points like that.
And as a Valley, there's different types of turnovers. If you turn the ball over and it goes out of bounds and they just have to run an out of bounds set, that's completely different from you just being dumb, trying to do too much with the ball, losing it, and they get a fast break transition score, the easiest bucket possible in basketball.
When you're talking about not being able to execute down the stretch, and you add in that's the differential
Whoever's in here, give us a like and subscribe if you like this kind of content.
in turnovers and points
Or comment and tell me what kind of content you are interested in.
off turnovers. Even though you made 12 threes and they make 14, even though you win the glass, that kind of cancels that stuff out too. So that's giving away possessions and not putting yourself in position to win, especially in your building. And I think I'm just overall just disappointed that this is the one that they gave up. I was hopeful that Vandy was kind of going to be an outlier at this point in the way they performed, but you just can't come back and lose another one at home. You've now got Missouri that you dropped at home. You've got this one. Those are 2 games here in about 3 weeks, Zach, that we're going to look back on and say, man, just if we could just had those 2.
Same thing what we said about Missouri.
Yep.
Like same thing we said about North Carolina. Think of
It's a bit of an obvious take, that last one.
our level of confidence going into these final 5 games, Zach. Had you won Missouri, had you won North Carolina, had you won this one, we would be
You're top 15, right?
Get in there.
Get you some.
People in the comment section are saying, so I need to go grab it.
I kind of forgot it was up there. So
Oh, I didn't. I've been just thinking in the back of my mind.
No
is it gonna
turnover.
be- is it
No
gonna be
turnovers
rude?
from you.
Is it going to be rude of me to not? I feel like you need to eat it on camera and just give a.
what's that? What kind is that one? Do we know? What do we have here?
Like chicken.
Chicken. It's got some.
I don't care about your pizza.
The trajectory of how this thing closes out.
I got approved.
Yeah, we were
That's a
worried
win.
about that
It
for
is
a
a win.
minute.
They said they wouldn't approve it.
You're 1-0.
I will be there.
Sorry, this is very rude of me, but guys, it's just so delicious. What was I yapping about? I said something just.
Something about
Really
final
profound.
5 games and Missouri lost.
Yeah. I feel like you're underestimating the importance of what I was saying. I would feel so much more confident going into this stretch had you stolen, just taken care of business in those games, and then been able to say, hey, we're still in the conversation for a top 4 seed double bye in the SEC tournament. It just, now we're back on the other side where there's still a conversation of, are they even going to make the tournament? They're going to, but the conversation is still there. Is it going to be a Wednesday start? Thursday at the absolute earliest? Absolute, yeah. So those things are frustrating about this missed opportunity.
Yeah, like it was a gut punch. Like, after the Vanderbilt loss, they were able to respond immediately and win against, on the road at Arkansas. You kind of expected something similar after taking the loss
Arkansas is better than Georgia.
against Florida, and then this one really just kind of, it takes the wind out of your sails when you're trying to get that. They were in position to still try and get a top 4 seed going into the game last night in the SEC tournament. So it is. It's very disappointing now that now every game does feel even more important than it already was. So, Auburn on the road this weekend is not going to be an easy game at all.
I don't know how exactly they're going to have to stop Tahith Pettiford on Auburn. Obviously, Denzel, the best defender, is going to be guarding him, but it's going to be tough doing that by himself. So they might have to run a zone defense with a little tweaks in there.
Keyshawn Hall is going to play. I think they play tonight. Auburn does. And I believe Keyshawn Hall is going to come back for that
Do we
game.
have an official update on that yet?
I saw last night that the anticipation.
We got to just assume he's going to come back and prepare for either. Like, if you're a D1 team, you can prepare for either, whether or not one of their star players is coming back or not coming back. Obviously, it's going to be a plus if he doesn't come back, but if he does, it's going to be his first game back. He's not going to be in tip-top shape.
Was that he was going to play. There might be an official word on that somewhere, but so they're going to be fully ready to go, and they're actually now ahead of Kentucky in the Ken Palm rankings. They're 14-11, and they're ahead of Kentucky in the Ken Palm rankings. So they definitely have an interesting schedule that they played all year. But yeah, now you're in a position where all these games, if you had beaten Georgia, you could probably afford to lose a road quad 1 game against Auburn. It wouldn't hurt as much, but the quad 2 losses, they drop you a seed line at this point. Kentucky needs all the help they can
tonight
get.
against Mississippi State.
So he's probably going to play.
Probably going to be played.
It's disciplinary. I thought I saw someone talk about a shoulder or something.
No, he got suspended internally by old Coach Pearl.
Yeah,
Part
old
2.
Coach Pearl. Yeah. not going so great down there, is it? But a win over Kentucky would make their fans really happy. So that also is an angle to it for them as well.
Yeah. If you're looking for things of optimism, Sean, if you're looking for, hey, this is the path to not totally dismissing how things unfolded. The loss was what it was, but we've been in this spot before. We have bounced back before. Where do you look? Like, where do you turn right now if you're a Kentucky fan?
You still have guys playing well. Like Colin Chandler still shooting the basketball well. Ortega, had another efficient night. Obviously, the 4 turnovers are critical to the outcome of the game. But you still got your top guys having some success. Now, your front court didn't give you much last night on either end of the floor. So that's a reoccurring thing that you don't want to see coming up in some games down the stretch here. But we have seen at this point in the season, with just so many games left, or a handful of games left, that this has to be a total collective effort for Kentucky to have success.
Yeah.
This can't be a front court plays well, back court doesn't. This can't be a back court carries you, front court doesn't give you anything. This has to be a total collective effort. And in the games that Kentucky's won against Arkansas, against Tennessee, and other matchups in recent weeks, they've got a total effort across the board and at least one guy in a position. Like the nights that Brandon Garrison and Malachi Moreno both perform, Kentucky's been pretty solid, right? Because we know what you're getting out of Colin Chandler. You know you're getting SEC Player of the Year numbers from Otega Oweh. So that's kind of what I'm looking at is you still got your top guys playing well. And how do you bounce back? And if the one thing that I can give Mark Pope and the staff credit for is they always find a way to dig themselves out of it. I just didn't think they were going to dig themselves back in it, if that makes sense. Like I thought that we had gotten beyond that I would love to see the response to be you go in there and you take care of Georgia and then you set up a huge road game at Auburn, you win that one, and you're like, okay, now we're pushing for that double bye. We're pushing to improve our seed in the NCAA tournament. But now, like you said earlier, it's allowing all the other people that were the doubters to come back out and say, well, Kentucky just had a string of luck there for a few weeks. Now they're capable of losing 3 or 4 or something like that going into the SEC tournament. And that's what you don't want to see.
Individually, at least, speaking of doubters, I feel like 2 of the most polarizing players on the roster right now, Zach, are Jasper Johnson and Andrea Yelovich, because we have seen both of them at their peak be awesome players. Like they do things that nobody else on the roster can do. But we've also seen them really, really struggle and make some just total game-changing mistakes. Andrea Yelovich, his worst game as a Kentucky Wildcat. I don't think anybody watching the show, I think all of them understand how big of an Andrea Yelovich fan was. Not his best effort. Jasper Johnson, same exact kind of deal where he starts out so strong and then just has a couple of massive slip-ups.
Jasper is still a freshman, so freshman guards actually typically don't get that much playing time unless they're superstars, and he's actually been doing decent for the most part. He hasn't necessarily been doing bad. It's kind of just, getting his legs out there. Really, you see him make a few confident plays against big men with his pump fakes, the way he cuts into the lane, come to a jump stop, and he'll make a high percentage shot there. So Jasper actually knows what he's doing. It's just something has to click with him, whether it be he has to score more or be more of a defensive presence. But I honestly think it would be just easier for him to score more, and that comes with giving Denzel Abdi more of a break. But when that happens, the defensive positivity on Kentucky side goes down, and it's hard to, he's the best defender, so giving him a break, there's a reason he's playing excess of 32 minutes. It's because they need him on both ends of the floor. And Jasper, he's a good replacement offensively, but who could replace what Denzel Aberdeen's doing on the defensive end? Maybe Trevor Noah, number 9, but he doesn't get that much playing time, and there must be a reason for that.
Especially guarding the perimeter and giving up some unbelievably game-swinging threes that you kind of go, well, man, I can't play you. I love you, but I can't put you on the floor right now.
And that speaks to what I just said. Having a 3 ball is not enough. Having one skill is not enough. You got to keep up with the best guys around. This is the SEC we're talking about.
How do you, in 2 of those kind of measuring stick guys that can totally swing a game for better or worse, how do you assess what you do with them moving forward?
Well, Jasper, I think it's literally just a game-by-game thing. You just never really
That's dumb. Every player is a game-by-game thing.
Know where you're going to get. Are you going to get a guy that can score 8 to 10 minutes or 8 to 10 points in 2 minutes?
This man said 8 to 10 minutes.
Or are you going to get the guy like we saw last night that goes 2 for 8 from the field and 1 for 5 from 3? So With Jasper, I just feel like it's a hot and cold thing. Like you just never.
1 for 5 from 3 as a guard is ridiculous. If you miss 3 threes in a row, you should not be taking any more threes that game. That's when you got to dribble in, come to a short pull up, dribble in, kick out to the side, dribble in, go for a layup, come to a jump stop, which you're so good at doing, or draw a foul, what a point guard is meant to do.
Really know what you're going to get. You kind of just have to ride that wave and hope that everything kind of aligns at the right time and lightning strikes, at the appropriate time for him. With Yelovich,
if we talking about D1 ball, it's not about when lightning strikes. It's how will your skill prevail. There is luck, but it's not to that extent. It's the best team will win.
like he's a good rebounder. I think that consistently is with him, but I don't think he keeps his head up at all very much. Like he's just very
that
much
one
like,
coast to coast was like, buddy.
Let me just put the ball on the floor and I'll put my head I'm going to stare straight at my sneakers whenever I'm driving or like have potential passing options down the court. So with him, I almost feel like he's getting almost a little bit progressively worse as the season.
That is hate right there. He's obviously not getting worse. His stat line is literally better. He had one bad game, yes. And he does make a lot of mistakes, yes, but he's definitely much better than he was playing at the beginning of the season. At the beginning of the season, he literally looked like a deer that just came out the womb. He could barely walk. He was getting knocked over by everybody. Now, in the middle of the season, he's clearly stronger, more prevalent, more confident. Like, what are you talking about?
It goes along, and I don't know.
And that's the thing. Like, if you have one bad game, I don't automatically writes what your entire season was. It doesn't make any sense.
What that is, he definitely is. And there was points.
Let me know in the comments if y'all agree or disagree. I need some other opinions because let me know if I'm crazy. Let me know.
Last night where it felt like he was playing good on-ball defense. Like there was a couple of instances against guards where he got switched on, where he was staying in front of him. And then there's other times where he doesn't feel like he's know what he's doing out there. And maybe that's just him still trying to get acclimated to what's going on. But we're 25 games into the season now, and you would have really liked to have him kind of hit his stride. And there's still opportunity for that to happen because he is 21. He's got all this pro experience. So maybe it is just a quick switch for him. But I almost feel more confident knowing what I'm going to get for Jasper each night because I know that it's either going to be really good or really bad.
Yeah.
But with Yelovich, I'm almost just getting.
So, can somebody explain to me why he's going easier on Yelovich than he is Jasper? Because just like you said, Yelovich is older than Jasper, 21. And it's like, you don't know, like he gets way too much. Show me what Yelovich has contributed that validates his playing time. Somebody show me.
More frustrated because
I'll pull it up right here on stream right now. Somebody show me some valid fact that can validate Yelovich's playing time.
I don't think he's getting to the point that we all need him to.
Which is on par with the season overall, right? When
Correct.
you're talking about Jasper, but with Yelovich, when you get to the end of the season, you look at the box scores. I don't know how many guys you can find across the country in college basketball that went from DNPs to starting. Just overnight, and it's stuck. But I mean, they've had success with it. So
other players in college basketball can't do that because their team isn't as deep as Kentucky. They don't have a $22 million roster. Like, there's a reason. Like a DNP on Kentucky is not the same thing as a DNB at Rutgers or a DNB at Princeton.
I just think it's the theme of the year is you just don't know what you're going to get. You know what you're getting.
No duh. You obviously don't know. Nobody knows what they're going to get until they step on the floor. That's just, well, who is this guy? This guy is not typically on the podcast. Why is he here? What's his credentials? Well, I need like full resumes before you start talking to me about basketball from now on.
From Otega, you know what you're getting from Colin Chandler, even Denzel Aberdeen at this point. I know it wasn't the best night from three, but overall, you know what you're getting, and I think that's at least something to lean on, which gives me some confidence that they are going to bounce back again, and we're probably going to be sitting here a week from now saying, "Man, Kentucky's turned that corner again." It's just where
I do believe they'll turn the corner again, but it's going to be frustrating when you overlook their entire season stats and see two dumb losses like the one to Georgia and the one to Missouri, and then a win that they should have had in Florida from just not getting the task completed on the rebounds.
When do the speed bumps stop happening? Like this wasn't even a speed bump. This was a pothole. Like you fell in this one, so you can't.
Y'all go ahead and like the stream for me if you in here.
You can't have that happen the rest of the way. Like you're going to lose some games just given the competition. I mean, Florida coming in here to close out the regular season is a massive opportunity, but you don't have a ton of confidence in that one. but you just can't have nights like last night happen. Like that's the stuff you got to get beyond.
Well, at what point does that just not happen? With only 5 games left in the regular season, like
I'm still in the corner that this team could surprise us all and go to Nashville and go on a run.
I clearly agree. Yeah,
and
They definitely can. They have all the tools to do that. There actually should be no reason why they don't do that.
they really see. I would love to see you get down there in that format where it's day by day by day. You could get a total thunderstorm of what Kentucky basketball looks like, right? You could play very well on one day and play not as great the next day and find a way to survive and then get the best performance of the season on Saturday. So, but in that building with this fan base, I still think this is a team that's capable of having a run. You just can't have last night happen. And then in Rupp Arena, they've had some bad home losses the last 2 years, but it's starting to stack up where I just
And the reason he's saying the last 2 years is because obviously Coach Calipari left.
don't know what to expect when I go into a game. And I don't like that. I guess it's the coaching side of me where I don't know what I'm getting when I'm going into a game. But at this point, I don't. And I just do not know what to expect. Are you going to get down 15? Or are you going to get up 8? Are you going to blow a lead? Or are you going to surge back? Or are you going to put it all together and just do it all in one night? So
have they had a complete game in the SEC? Do we think
Arkansas is the closest.
That's the closest to it.
one? Yeah, and that was the one where they almost could have collapsed too in that second half.
And you knew that Arkansas was going to make a run in that one, and that's going to happen when you play good teams. And Kentucky's been on the same side of that, right? Where a team gets off to a great start, and then here comes Kentucky surging. Last night's the one, though, right? Like when you look at Florida and you look at Georgia, Florida, we all had a positive feeling about the outcome just because that was the type of game that, honestly, it wouldn't have shocked me if it had got to 30 when they got down 15 to 16 points. But they stormed back and made you think they had a chance to win it because they clawed their way into it. Last night was kind of one of those uninspired games that we had earlier in the season where you're wondering, okay, does this team have anything that it takes to be successful in the league? But this was one I circled that they were going to win. I thought they had a chance to really go on a run and close out Rupp Arena with that game of Florida coming in and just kind of
They had a chance. They just didn't utilize the opportunity. The chance was definitely there.
having a crazy atmosphere. You can still get there, but you got to get a win Saturday now.
Yeah.
You can't lose 3 in a row because, like I said, you can't cancel out success.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what they're doing with losses like last night.
Zach, will it be enough in a run in Nashville, knowing I feel like all of us have reset our expectation that this is not a Final Four team, this is not a champion. I'd love to be wrong. Please, for all that is good in the world, please be wrong. But we have kind of reset our standard and expectation for this specific season and said, hey, you get to a second weekend, can you make an Elite Eight? Probably unlikely, but I'd love to see that. But Sweet 16 is kind of that measuring stick of success for this season. If they're able to play into the weekend in Nashville, if they're able to play on a Sunday, which we haven't seen in so many years, but will that be enough? If knowing how the season has unfolded, if they go down to Nashville, make it to Sunday, whether they win or not, and then call it a Sweet 16 just to replay from how last season unfolded, will we look going into the season and go, okay, this was a success or was this a failure?
I almost feel like that's a trap question.
I'll make it hard for you. Kentucky wins the SEC championship in Nashville. Confetti falls. You get the trophy ceremony. You get the
This is very possible. I don't know why they're saying it as if it's a joke. Yes, they made a lot of mistakes. Yes, it's a lot of tweaks that could be made, but they're all fixable. It's not like they don't have the tools to do it and get the job done.
something tangible that
would be
we
a
haven't had in a
successful
long
season, I
time.
think,
And then
That's the focus of today's stream. Fixable, my friends. Fixable.
they're losing the Sweet 16.
I think that would be a successful season, knowing how it all played out with the injuries and everything. Yes,
Okay.
I would say that.
What about playing on Saturday in the SEC tournament? Where does that put you? Because it's been a while since that, too.
Or are we starting on Thursday or Friday? Because that
Friday.
if you start
Just get to Saturday.
if you
at this
start
point,
Friday
like-
and you lose Saturday, then I don't think it's good enough. I think fans need to see like, oh, we spent a weekend in Nashville.
That's a good point.
We got multiple, because I feel like even if you win the first one and you lose on day 2, it's like, well, all right, then what was all of this for?
That's a good point.
I feel like if it starts on Thursday, then I could potentially, well, we won 2. maybe pull off an upset. Do it against a name brand. Like if there are a couple upsets in the elsewhere that I feel like they need a name brand upset in Nashville. Like Oklahoma was fine, but then when you face the name brand opponent and you got your ass kicked, it was just like, all right, well.
And that's the part that can happen, right? You can't go have a bad performance down there again. Like from SEC tournaments to Gonzaga to Vandy in Nashville, you just
Tennessee.
That city at one point was so good to us that we thought we were unbeatable when we made it to Nashville. But in recent years, man, it's kind of not wanting to go to Nashville. I'd like to go back to St. Louis at this point. That's
Tampa.
the last. Yeah, Tampa.
Bring it back.
Just send us somewhere else. But how you close this thing out?
If you were a real team, then it don't matter where you at. You could be in Antarctica. I'm gonna get a bucket.
If you go on a run in the SEC tournament, even if you don't win it, let's just say you get to Sunday and you're in the finals. BBN's got a great feeling going into the tournament. Can you get to the second weekend where now matchups could fall in your favor? That Sweet 16 game could be somebody that maybe you have an opportunity to have some success against. Do you play your way into an Elite Eight if the bracket opens up for you? How the season ends is going to determine not the pressure that Mark Pope and the staff has on them next year, because regardless of outcome, there's going to be a ton of pressure. But it can certainly help you win the offseason and build some momentum going into the transfer portal. And we know how important April and May is going to be for this program.
Yeah, there's a lot of truth to that. So this pizza, I'm going to get your live takeaway.
On that note, this is a nice little analytics session. You guys let me know what you're trying to see next in the comments in terms of basketball, MMA, boxing, kickboxing, combat martial arts, as well as news and current events. So you guys take it easy. I'm going to get out of here and get back to work.